Get into
You're doing the whole Lamed test, three
the whole.
sifim. It's three sifim, and then in Mem, the first four.
Whoa, big one. Okay, now we get into the nitty gritty. These halachas are not simple. Anything having to do with brachas and seuda. I mean, it takes a break a little bit after this for Natilas Yadayim and some other things. But once you get into the Ilchus brachas, it gets quite complicated. So, Siman Lamed Tes is din misha writes alechol ilishtais kaidam asuda. Somebody wants to eat or drink before the meal. Ubay gimel seifim. There's three seifim. So I write alechol kaidam. Now, actually, somebody just asked me a shayla namish 5 minutes ago. They made havdalah and then they washed right away. So, should they make, or they're going to wash? Should they make ala gefen first and then birchas hamazon, or should they just wash and then they make birchas hamazon and it covers everything? So that was their shayla. So let's see, maybe we can answer it. Probably not. Somebody wants to eat before washing hands. He wants, meaning he's too hungry. So he makes kiddush, and then he sees some food on the table. He wants to take a few bites before he washes. Whether it's something that if he would eat them during the meal, meaning because they're not normally eaten with bread, like fruit, or let's go with nowadays, candy, whether it's something he would not have to make a bracha on teichasuda, I mean, they lift on, like dips, potatoes and beans, all those things we don't, once you wash, you don't make a bracha on the foods. If somebody wants to drink, except for wine, before the netilas yadayim, and he's also going to drink it during the suda, right? Meaning a guy comes in, they're about to wash, they're about to make a shava brachas, let's say, and he's thirsty for a drink. So he just wants to take a drink before he washes. So if he does that, so certainly makes a shahako. But does he make bar nefashas or not? So yesh b'zeh machloikas of poskim, big machloikas. The question is the food that he ate before Netilas Yadayim, does that become potter with birchas hamazon? Right, with these foods that he eats during the suda, or and you're not going to be yaitz with the birchas hamazon. What is the Kitzur paskin? Since it's a big machlokes, yesh limnoya mizeh, don't do it. Just control yourself until you wash. Don't eat and don't drink. Only before the suda. Then make a bracha achrayna. Then don't eat or drink these items during the suda. Like this, you have no suffolk brachas. Right? Yeah, so you hear what he's saying? He's saying that if you decide you wanted a drink before the suda, so he says, fine, have the drink, say a bar nefashas, and then don't drink that drink during the meal. Because if you do drink that drink during the meal, then it's a shaila whether the birchas hamazon covers that drink, and therefore the bar nefashas that you made before the meal was levatala. But he puts in here in brackets that that's only if you drink enough to require a bracha achrayna. But if you don't drink enough to require a bracha achrayna, then you won't have a problem. So then you just make a bracha rishon and that's it. So, like, for example, you have pickles on the table, right? Seems like that's always the one that gets people. Yeah, so you made kiddush and then you see the pickles and the guy wants to eat a pickle. So as long as you have a pickle that would not require bar nefashos, then there's no shaila that you make the bracha on the pickle, and then you don't have any shaila because you weren't chayav to make a bar nefashos anyways. But if you did eat enough for bar nefashos, then make the bar nefashos according to the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and then don't eat it during the meal. Now the Mishnah Brura has a whole different take on this, right? And he has a way around this. But the truth be told, that it's really not kedai to do this. So we'll leave it at that, right? But let's say you didn't do the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch's Eitzah, and you didn't make a bracha achrayna. Then you should make a bar nefashos in the middle of the meal, or even after birchas hamazon. So if you really want to pull a shtick on people in your family, and so what you could do is you can eat, let's say, these pickles, eat a bunch, and then I'm not saying you should do this because it gets involved in suffix brachas, but that's what the Kitzur is saying. If you didn't make the bracha achrayna before the meal, then you have to make a separate bracha achrayna because it wasn't part of the meal, and your birchas hamazon doesn't cover it. So you could finish benching, and then you belt out a bar nefashos, and everybody will look at you like you're crazy, and then you can explain to them as halacha if you can follow and understand it. But that's the way the Kitzur says to do it. Right? Now that's if you didn't eat them during the Suda. But if you did eat them during the Suda, meaning you had your pickles before you washed, and then you had your pickles after you washed. Then what you should do is, because you have a shiloh whether the birchas hamazon covers it, then what you should do is after birchas hamazon, go to the refrigerator and take a tomato, let's say, which definitely requires a new bracha, and or maybe even the pickles. To pater what you ate or drank before the Netilas Yadayim. As you see, these halachas are quite technical and complicated, and the regular mahalach is always to avoid getting into the issue, which sometimes requires some self-control, which is probably good unto itself. Base. If a guy wants to drink wine before Netilas Yadayim, even if he's not going to drink wine during the meal, some say that since you drink wine as an appetizer, right, it opens up the intestines, to require to have you have a taiva achila in kain, that's included in the suda, then it's pater birchas hamazon. You definitely need a bracha rishayna. That's without a question. The question is bracha achrayna. But this does not apply to grape juice, because that's not an appetizer. The Yeshaimrim, Tafilu Shoyse Yain Gambase Chasudim, Kamakam Ena Yain Shlufneim wasn't Nifta wasn't even if you, the Yeshaimrim says, even if you drink wine during the meal, the wine that you drank before the meal may not become exempt with your Birchas Hamazon. You should not drink wine before Netilas Yadayim. Unless you drink a wine after Birchas Hamazon. Then you make a bracha ala gefen, and then that will make you pater on what you drank before Netilas Yadayim. That's negaya to more people. If you want to drink sharp wine, which is otherwise known as hard alcohol, whether you're going to drink it during the meal or not, if you're drinking it before the meal, make sure to have less than a kazayas. But if you drink a kazayas or more of drink, then you fallen into a suffix bracha achrayna, and go back to Sif Aleph to fix the situation. Fine, which means to drink more, which usually people that drink hard alcohol have no problem doing that. Let's say before Netilas Yadayim, you want to eat mezainas like honey cake, ugas beitzim, honey kuchin, ayer kuchin, kichul kadayme. This comes up a lot when you make kiddush on Shabbos. So you make kiddush and you're waiting for the guests, so you eat some cake and now you want to wash. Or by a chasana, where they come around with the what's it called? The
hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres and what's it called? Franks and blanks and not. I was thinking about the other ones called pigs and blanks. I was once giving a share, and the guy said, "What's Franks and blanks? You mean pigs and blanks?" That was clearly a share from not people that were always from. So
Franks, no, because Franks usually had pig meat in them.
Is that what that is? Okay. Anyways, So the hors d'oeuvres, well, they're walking around, so you're gonna have a bite or two, and then you're gonna have to wash, right? So what do you do? So whether you eat from them during the Suda or you don't eat from them during the Suda, either way, that's gonna be part of Birchas Hamazon. Birchas Hamazon Pateras Birchas Alamichya, because Birchas Hamazon Paters Alamichya. However, not everybody agrees to the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch on this. And many say you have to make Alamichya first before you wash. Right? Again, this is of course talking about where you ate enough to require Alamichya. If you didn't eat enough to require Alamichya, then it's not even a Shaila. The problem is that maybe the Birchas Hamazon Dogot, so basically the best eitzah in this situation is to eat the mezainis and then make an alamichya and then wait 15 minutes to wash. 15, 20 minutes, because that's at least you had some sort of separation there. All right? Complicated. These are really very complicated halachas. Not so much that they're complicated, it's just because we know that we don't want to make a bracha of atala and suffik brachas. So therefore we try our best to get out of it. He's saying, but as you shouldn't have a big hefsek between this achila and the tiyas yadayim. Harbe, like by a chasana, by the chasen's tish, or what do you call it, the shmor, and then you might have an hour and a half. So then even if you're going to eat them during the suda. Yeah. Okay. So that's that set of complicated halachas.
On the last one, what's called a kizayis schnapps?
Oh, so kizayis is you have to. It's hard to figure out exactly because it's well more than revius. That's for sure. Exactly how you get to the kizayis, I don't know, but that's but it's more than revius. Fine. Simin mem hilchos atulis daim l'suda by chav aleph sifim. If you want to eat bread, you have to wash. If the bread is the size of an egg, then you make a bracha. Less than that, you don't make a bracha on a natila. When I was giving the women's share a couple of weeks ago, I told them, and I am assuming that this most would agree with me, but if not, you're welcome to disagree, is that I'm not so sure women should make a bracha on natilas yadayim by shalosh shudas in the winter. I'm not so sure they're going to eat a kibetza of bread, right? That's a lot of bread. It's a double of a kizayis. Meaning if you have a kizayis, you have to bench, and you yoytza shalosh shudas with a kizayis. But we say that you need an egg's worth, which is a double kizayis, which we say is approximately 2/3 of a matzah, right? Of a machine matzah.
What's that in a bagel? Is that like a half bagel?
A bagel will be like a third, I think. That's the way Rabbi Badner has it. It's either a quarter or a third, right? So if they don't have that, and you're not sure whether you're going to eat it, so then have somebody else make the natilas daim out loud to be mitzvah you, right? And we paskin, if it's less than a kazayas, if you're eating bread less than a kazayas, then lemaisa we paskin you should make natilas daim. But even less than a kazayas, you make natilas daim, but don't make the bracha. Fine. Base. The natilas daim tzricha is tafka min akli. Tafka has to be from a kli, meaning you're not supposed to. You can't stick your hand under the sink, at least lechatchila. But tzarich sheyeh kli shalim beli shum nekev, and the kli has to be complete with no holes, or sedek mafulish, or a crack that goes through, which means if it's just cracked on the inside and the water doesn't leak out, that's not a problem. And then the top should be equal, without any indentations, or anything sticking out. So now that's where you get into, can you use a pitcher that has that little mouth to wash? Those pitchers, it has this thing sticking out at the top, that you pour it that way. You're not supposed to wash your hands that way. That does not have a din kli, since it cannot hold liquid there, meaning in that little spout, right? It's called a spout, I think. And that little spout cannot hold enough water, and it can't hold water at all. Any water that's in there is either going to spill out towards out of the utensil, or out of the pitcher, or back into the pitcher. So you can't wash that way. You need to turn the kli sideways, and it shouldn't go through that spout. In a place that holds mashkin. However, if you pour a lot of water out of that, meaning sort of you bypass, meaning what he's talking about is only if you're pouring with the pitcher and the water is going through that spout, but only the spout. But if you pour a lot the way we do it, and it's coming out of the pitcher, it happens to be coming out of spout, but it's coming all over from the pitcher too, then that's not a problem. Gimel, kli she'ena yochel lamed ela yidei smicha. Let's say you have a kli that you could only, it will not stay by itself. Meaning, sometimes you have those cups, those pointy cups, so they can't sit by themselves. If that's the way the kli was created, yesha din kli, so it still has a kli, even though it cannot sit on the table by itself. But it's not meant to do that, meaning it melted or it got broken or something like that. When kisa kli, let's say a pot cover. So a pot cover is, I guess, if it's pointy or it has a handle, I don't know if a handle would make a difference, but ain't nothing matter. You can't use that for the Netilas Yadayim. There's many different dinim in Shulchan Aruch. Exactly how much water you need for the Netilas Yadayim is very difficult to measure. You need to pour a lot of water on each hand. I washed with a full cup of water, and I was given full cups of, or full handfuls of goodness. Right, so that's why you want to use a lot of water. First you wash your right hand, and then your left hand. And the water needs to go on your entire hand until the wrist. And there should be no places on your hand without water. That's why you should spread out your fingers and lift them up to Shemayim, so that the water will get to the length of all the fingers. And at the head of the fingers, and then the width, all around. And you should pour the water in one pouring. That's why you should not use a kli whose mouth is very small. And the water doesn't go out at one time. And the proper thing to do is wash on each hand twice. Now, the previous sentence that you shouldn't use a utensil that has a small mouth is the good old water bottle, Shiloh. Right? Can you use a water bottle to wash Netilas Yadayim? So the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says not to. Right? But there are cholkim on this who say that's only if you're going to pour with a small amount of water. But if you're going to keep pouring from that water bottle onto your hand, then it's okay. And that's, I think, the way we'd paskin. Certainly if you're traveling. Say, obviously, if you have a water bottle and you have a choice to go to a sink and wash properly, then go to the sink and wash properly. If you don't have that choice, so then as long as you keep pouring from the water bottle and you make sure that you get a lot of water on your hands, then you are allowed to wash from a utensil, from like a water bottle, and etc. Okay, stop over there. A good vach and a good year.